able to do a podcast with Chaz Woodson a couple weeks ago. Also, that was really awesome. Right before the season started for the MLL, and now he's broadcasting for the Florida launch. So that's pretty awesome.
That is
If you ever want to get to one of those games, let me know. I think I can hook it up.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely will let you know.
Yeah. So, how are you, Miss Ma'am? We are live. It's Monday, and this is Miss Monica Reinhard.
Yeah, I'm good. I just got into summer, so I finished all my finals.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
How'd the season go?
It was good. I played for Florida State, like the club lacrosse team there, and we made it to the semifinals. And we lost in that game, but I have a feeling that next year it's going to be really successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Was this the first year you played, or you played last year also?
No, this is the first year.
First year playing? Okay, cool. Very cool. Very cool. So what are the biggest differences that you noticed from high school to college lacrosse?
A big difference is like the amount of time that we practice, because not only do we do field work, we have days that we have to go to the gym and lift weights, and we go to this facility called Titus, and they personally train us to do all these like very athletic movements. And I can just tell the difference when I'm on the field, that there's so many things that I do that there's no way I could have done back then because of like all of the range of motion that they gave us.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. And the skill is obviously a lot better in college. So
yeah, the speed I'm sure is increased also. You're running against girls who've been running all day. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So how's college life?
It's really good. I fell in love with Florida State. I never thought I'd be so happy in my life out of college. And I just like love the atmosphere, the people, just everything about it.
That's good. Are you living in the dorms over there? Or are you living on off campus with friends, or what's the living situation like?
My first year I lived in a dorm, and then this year and the next year I'm going to live in an apartment with some friends.
Cool. Yeah, that was always my favorite way to do it, also in the military. That was we had that was, again, I never went to college, so that was my biggest summation of what a dorm life would be, I guess, was living in the dorms in the military. That was a lot of fun though. And then got to live off base with a couple friends. And that was even more fun. So just behave yourself, you know what I'm saying? Be careful.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Be careful is the biggest thing. A lot of fun to be had. But yeah, so I wanted to bring you on, first of all, to get just get an update with you, see how you're doing, but also work through something that I've been working on with this podcast of perception shifting and stuff like that, and not only evaluating your own perception shifts, but helping me gather some of my own, so there's going to be we'll go through a range of conversation here, but there's little history for everybody who's going to be watching for the first time. I first met Monica in 2013. We were introduced because I was given a job as a head coach at Palmer Trinity in South Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah, baby. Yeah. That was a really interesting ride, man. That was my first time as a head coach, my first time coaching an all-girls team, and it was an experience that I would never ignore, you know what I mean? There's some experiences that you kind of just try to work through and then get them over with and move past it, but it's just something I constantly draw from. And one, I think even back then I knew that I would have to, having a daughter of my own, definitely gave me a lot of perception shifts as far as, just working with girls in general, because I had worked with girls at BDM, where we had our camp for boys and girls of all ages, and but it was not the game that I had focused on, and nor was it the girls' attention that I was focused on. It was the group collective, and in that sense, it was really easy. These were all players, and we just did drills, and we worked on a lot of good stuff there. But when it's more than just coming back week after week or weekend after weekend, and it's every day spending time with you girls and as a group, and then as individuals also on the field, you know, there was a big perception shift with the way that I had to work with you guys. And not that it was a bad thing, but I was used to a certain way of drilling things into people's heads. You know, with the boys, that's kind of how you have to be. You have to kind of beat it into them, or else they don't get it. With the girls, it was kind of like, all right, you guys get what I'm saying? And it was kind of, yep. It was like, oh, okay, well then carry on. It was like, cool, then you got it. You know, you were paying attention, obviously, and that was something that was a big difference from coaching the guys to the girls, which was, you know, whereas the guys, you say things and you got to repeat them because, oh, coach, I wasn't listening, or, you know, oh, coach, I was staring off into the field, or, you know, you get 101 excuses on the guys' team. With the girls, it was like I had the entire focus every time. And it was something that I'm noticing, like, you know, I was noticing it with my nephew and my daughter, that my daughter, being a girl, she's constantly got her attention on everything, you know. And my nephew is kind of like, you know, you're talking to him, but he's playing it. And it was that same scenario where it's like, all right, dude, settle down. I'm trying to talk to you, you know. And with my daughter, it's not that way. With my daughter, she's absorbing even what I'm not telling her, you know. So it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. She's paying attention regardless of whether or not the conversation's with her. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I felt when I was coaching you guys, that it was like, yeah, this is a different thing, you know, like everything that I'm saying, they pick up on, they're adjusting on. And that was, I think, one of the things that led us to have a lot of success, especially in our second season, was that aspect of it. But that was your time, your first time playing lacrosse organized, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had played 1 year before coming to Palmer at the previous high school that I attended in Pennsylvania, but it was like my first time playing. I didn't even know how to cradle. And at the end of the season, just the way that coach coached us, like, it was so, you either get it or you don't. And if you don't get it, I'm not going to teach you. Like, you have to do it a lot on your own, because there was about 100 kids on the team. So if you weren't good, someone else would take your place. And so when I came to Palmer and then you were our coach, it was just a whole different experience, because you actually cared and, like, you made time to teach us. And, like, it was just such a better atmosphere that I fell in love with the sport that season.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we had a lot of fun that year.
Yeah.
Our first year we had a lot of fun. Our second year obviously went much better. You know, we ended up getting back to the district championships and winning it that year. And that was a disappointing loss to that first season. You know, we get all the way to the district champs, and we lost that night. But in essence, we played really well that night, even regardless of the loss. We just we got a slow start onto the girls that were already playing well, you know, and it was like, all right, we got to take this one on the teeth. But the next year we went and we handled business.
Yeah, we killed it.
To say the least. You ended up on a newspaper in South Florida, down in the Keys.
Yeah.
Got the cover, you know, leaping over it. Somehow little Monica at 5'3" is leaping over taller girls scoring goals. That was really cool. Yeah. That was a big highlight, seeing that. And then you know, seeing all the girls see it also, man, it was a fun ride.
Yeah.
That was,
and another interesting thing is, so I play for Florida State, and the twins, Ana and Caro, they play for University of Florida. And it was funny, because this season we played each other.
Are they both playing?
Yeah, they both play. So it was cool, because it was like two people that I use as an asset during playing. And this time I have to remember how they play and see how they play and go against them. So that was kind of cool.
How did that go?
It was good. I can't remember. I think we lost that was the game we lost in overtime by 1 point. So, Oof. Yeah, but it was such a good game, though.
Those girls have been high caliber for a really long time. And it was always interesting. I want to catch up with them also, because it's interesting to me how they've adjusted into the college atmosphere with it. I'm happy to hear that they're both playing. I know that when they graduated, one of them kind of walked away from it a little bit, and hey, to more power to her. You know, you got to take your time, you got to take your journey, and you got to choose what's right for you. But it was disappointing to hear that she had walked away from it. I'm much happier to hear that she's walked back to it. I think it's definitely a vehicle for, you know, and I've said this a couple of times, it's a vehicle for showing you what you're capable of, you know, to say the least, especially when you're new to the game or when you're competing at a new level. So in all of your senses, you know, you're all competing at the new level. the girls, the twins have been competing for a long time now. I think at the time that I had them already, they were already 4 years in.
Yeah.
So they had been playing since, junior high school, and they've got a lot of experience under their belt. So to see them now competing at the college level, I'm dying to see what their feeling on their adjustment has been. But it's always interesting to see that, okay, this is what we used to do. And the way I looked at it, and maybe you can shed some light on this, I always looked at it as I coached a free program of lacrosse, in the sense that we didn't have a lot of structure the way most college programs, most other coaches have a structured defense. This is, our program defense that we're going to fall into every single time, and if the scenario changes, then you change to this program of a defense. I never believed in those kind of structures. I believed in a free-flowing game. You cover who you have, and then you communicate with your teammates depending on your skill level compared to who you're matched up with.
Yeah.
It's ultimately up to you guys on the field to make these adjustments, and that's how I felt I was contributing better, especially for you guys in the future levels, that you would be essentially coach these programmable defenses. But if I sent you up there as a full all-around athlete, they were going to be able to pluck and pick you and say, okay, Monica, you're good at all these things, and this is what we need you for, and I need you to get better at this one thing.
Yeah.
Such as the twins. They were great midfielders for me. Maybe a coach has decided, between the kinesis that they share, they're better off at defense. I don't know. You know what I mean? The way I always thought about it was, I'm trying to build the best all-around athlete so that when they get to these higher up levels, they can be plugged in and taught these programs, and then it's easy peasy after that. How's your experience with that going?
Yeah, I feel like that definitely helped a lot, especially going into like the college level. I just noticed that, wow, like there's a lot of things that I really need to work on, especially since I took a year off of lacrosse because my freshman year I tried to join, and it was just like freshman year was so chaotic with all the adjusting that I had taken a year off of lacrosse, and then coming back to it, I was like, wow. And like, I was trying to remember all my skills. And like, I definitely feel that giving us the liberty of learning everything on the field and doing it in like a free flowing manner, not like, okay, you have to do this, and if this happens, it was very relaxed, and like, it was fun to play. I feel like if you made it that, okay, you have to do this, this happens, and you give us all these steps, it would have been not just like a sport to do for fun, but more of like a job, a task. Right. And then it would have taken the fun out of the game. And like,
I feel like that's how it is now, a little bit.
Well, no.
Job or no?
I have two coaches this year, and one of them, well, both of them played lacrosse, but one played at the D1 level in California. And so she played defense. And so when she came to our team, she brought us a booklet of different plays and like different styles of defense and different styles of attack and all these like different things. And while it's a lot of help that we can learn all these plays and like use them, I noticed that a lot of times we struggle with, okay, someone calls us play, but we don't really fully know it, because they did give us like 7 at once. So that's kind of a lot because they're all so different. So it is stressful, but I feel like it definitely helps. I think that a mixture of both would be useful, in the sense that, okay, maybe we can try this and also have it free flowing so that it's still fun, but there are things that you can use, like it's not force. Because sometimes the coaches will call a play from the side, and then it's like, oh God, okay, let me quickly remember what it was. And so, I don't know, I definitely liked both styles, but a mixture of the two is definitely a lot more fun.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that it's a good adjustment for you. For some people it's too difficult. Some people like it the way it was. You know what I mean? And I mean, I've heard of these scenarios where players will go off to college. Like there's a football player from Killian who went to college to play football. He was also a lacrosse player, and it was kind of like, well, dude, why are you going to go ride the bench playing football when you can start at lacrosse? Mm-hmm. That's the way I thought about it. The guy loved football. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? He chose to play football all 4 years, and he just decided not to play lacrosse. That's all good. That's his path. But it was like, how do you – eventually he did get the start, so good for him. You know, he eventually did make it, and you do have to ride the pine sometimes. You know what I mean? That's sometimes my way of looking at it, which is, you know, if you're gonna be second string at this, but first string at this, why not do this? It's like, well, sometimes you need to be second string for a little while before you can get there, you know, and it's all good, you know. Sometimes I see things a little different, but that always struck me as something that I always wanted to ask him, you know. It was like, why, if you could do it again, would you have chosen the same thing, you know, like, or would you have gone and played lacrosse and, you know, potentially taken your team to a championship, you know what I mean? Like, you could have done a lot, man. And, you know, he had skills, obviously, to play football. They transfer the same way in lacrosse. That's something that I'm trying to get people here in Puerto Rico to notice, because that's one of the initiatives that I've taken on here is we're starting Puerto Rico lacrosse here. And the hopes is to take a national team and compete next year for the Women's World Cup. We just locked down an agreement yesterday with one of the college young ladies that I met here. She was here in a tournament scenario, and she's of Puerto Rican descent, so it was kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, you know, how would you feel about representing us, and if we can get a team together, being a member of that team and competing for it? And she was like, absolutely. And so, you know, we're excited to have her on board. As soon as we get more of her bio, we'll start updating the website with that. But I mean, this is something that it's only going to gain momentum. And the faster we can get a staff on board, the faster we can get a list of young ladies on board who are willing to come out and compete with us. You know, they have to understand that in the economic situation of Puerto Rico, there's probably not a lot of support we're going to get financially with this whole thing. So the reality is that unfortunately, they're going to have to come out of pocket for these first couple trips. You know, this trip is going to be, you know, unfortunately, for now, we're unaware of how this is going to work out. Right now, the thing we're trying to focus on is, okay, can we get a group of ladies committed to do this, first of all? And then once we do, you know, then we'll have the federal applications already in progress and stuff like that, and we'll hopefully be able to lock it down before that starts. The men's schedule was just released last month, I believe, so I think we didn't make it on the men's, you know, competing side this year. But, you know, next year is the same thing. You know, World Cup for men's comes back around. And eventually now with the Olympics also gets mentioned into that also.
So there's lacrosse in the Olympics then? Or how does that work? When you talk.
Well, from what I was understanding, they had just made it, and I'm just about to Google it right now to make sure that I'm not sticking my foot in my mouth. But if I'm not mistaken, they actually just did is lacrosse in an Olympic sport in the 2016 Olympics. 5 sports that need to get addressed. Lacrosse at the Summer Olympics. That's going back from 2008. So let's see. This one's the latest update. I hate when they write articles like this. This is ridiculous. If you ever write an article, don't make it this way. Why would you do that? Give me a paragraph here, man. Come on. Who's working on this stuff?
Oh, wow.
Who's working on this?
Yeah, all you need is a simple yes or no answer.
Yes or no, man. Yes or no. 2016, yay or nay? Let's see what we got here. The Bleacher Report. Now at the 2012 Olympics. Okay, that didn't answer my question. That is from 2012. Let's see. What's up, Google? Give me some up-to-date stuff, Google. What's up? Let's see. Maybe that'll give us a better answer. Nope. Brought us right back there. Across at the Summer Olympics.
Now, are you trying to start like a club team or a team to represent Puerto Rico?
Team to represent Puerto Rico completely. It'll be a national team or an international team representing Puerto Rico.
That is really cool.
So yeah, I mean the challenge now is to make sure that we get the support we need once it's you know, once we go full-fledged, and you know, the least they could do is you know, take care of the travel, you know what I mean? As all international athletes, I think that's the least they could do. But as far as anything else, you know what I mean, we're not asking for much. You know, we're trying to get the program started ourselves. The men's roster right now is consisting of gentlemen in the United States who are of Puerto Rican descent, the same as the young lady we locked down yesterday. And it's like, you know, these guys, we already have pretty much a full roster. So if we get our federal application approved for the Federal International League, then, you know, we have a roster to put together that's full already of Puerto Rican descent gentlemen who are in the United States already playing D1 through D3 lacrosse. One of them is even at the professional level, but we don't have an official lockdown from him yet. You know, he plays in the MLL, and he's of Puerto Rican descent. It wouldn't be hard to find his name in the books. And if we can, you know, if we can get that support from him and get that green light, then we're looking good. You know, we're building. My job here, as it consists, is trying to start up the little camps and the little practices, little clinics and stuff like that around the island, and reaching out to people. And you know, we started that. We had a clinic back in April. I didn't want to do anything too much before that. You know, I didn't have a goal or anything like that I could put up and even try to introduce a game. Now I have that. Now I have goalie equipment. So once I get somebody who's partially insane and wants to be a goalie, it's like, all right, let's slap the pads on you and start teaching you what you need to know. I jokingly say that, obviously. Hopefully Galicia does see this and knows I'm kidding. But that's something even I used to joke with her, that you got to be at least partially insane to be a goalie.
Oh,
you know,
for sure.
Those shots are coming way too fast to do that in any kind of regular setting. So that was interesting, man. So yeah, you know, it's been slow going, but we had a really good turnout when we did our clinics in April. We were fortunate enough to have it coincide with a huge sporting event that was happening at the time. So we were able to set up a little station outside, and we had a lot of people come by and enjoy, you know, throwing around with us. They were shooting goals. I met these triplets that were from that side of the island, and all three of them came out. They were enjoying the hell out of themselves. We took a picture of them because they have I strung a stick up and I gave it away as a prize. And we had them playing, and I was like, you know what? There's no way that this mother, and she was really young, you know, I don't mean to put her down or anything like that, but she didn't look like she had a lot of, you know, she wasn't in a financially stable situation, right? So I'm talking to these kids, I'm getting the same vibe from them, and but they're liking it, you know what I mean? They're out and they're enjoying themselves, they're learning how to throw and catch, and they're triplets, so they have a lot of time to spend together. And it was like, yeah, man, you know what? Come on, let's go. Let's play a game, guys. Let's see who's going to win the stick. And it was like, yeah, you know, if I can give a stick to one of these kids, the likelihood of one of the three of them sticking with it and actually playing, and then when we start coming around, he brings his brothers to use some of the loaner sticks. You know what I mean? There's at least three kids showing up. You know, that's how we're trying to get the buzz. We did a nice little thing outside of El Moro, which is a nice monument here in San Juan. And we were so lucky because there was kids on field trip.
Oh,
so
wow.
There's a really cool thing they do here in Puerto Rico, which is they do these field trips to like little short schools away. Usually around here anyway, we did it to a local school, a big field that they had, and they take the rest of the afternoon off, like a teacher planning day kind of thing. They let you out at 10:30 in the morning, and we go fly kites for 2 hours.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, that's okay, that's one way to spend an afternoon. You know, me going through, you know, the U.S. system school, public schools, we got holidays off, but we didn't get days off like that. Hey, let's go fly kites. Like, no, that didn't happen.
No, no.
So to see that happen here is like, wow, you know, that's pretty cool that they try to maintain their innocence as long as they can, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we were fortunate enough to get a bunch of field trips going on at the exact same time at El Moro. So it's as if they were busing kids to us. You know, like there was a field trip going on when we were started, and as soon as we set up the goal and we started playing around, these kids were like, oh, hey, what's going on? It's like, hey, you want to learn how to play this? Like, yeah, sure. Boom, give them a stick. And they were going.
Oh, wow.
And the cool thing is that here, there's a lot of baseball players here. They love baseball.
Mm-hmm.
They also love basketball. They love a lot of things, but they love baseball here. Like every kid here has played baseball at least once. So with the stick, they're all naturals with swinging. So their shots were all really nice and crisp. And then the catching is just like baseball if you just take out the fact that you're not catching it with your bare hand. You know, you just, if you choke up high on your stick, it's like catching it with a baseball mitt. So they were all like, you know, catching and throwing within minutes. And it was like, man, if I could get a group of you kids, man, I would take you guys anywhere you wanted to go with this game. Like, hey, where do you guys want to travel? So it was really good to finally be around kids like that again in that magnitude. I haven't done that since our last practice at Next Level Lacrosse before I left Miami, and and then before then was our last practice as Palmer. So that was our last organized team. And I haven't been back to coach a team since, but I'm looking forward if we get our program off the ground. I should say when we get our program off the ground. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be great. So just enjoying it, man. Enjoying the ride. Yeah. Hopefully you are too. How's everything going up there at the college? How's your parents doing?
My parents are good. Yeah, they're working a lot, but that's life. But just lacrosse. I noticed. So last year I didn't play lacrosse, and like I felt like there was something missing. And that probably sounds cliche, or but like I always played a sport all throughout high school, middle school even. And so for me, not having that in my life, it felt empty. And so this year when I found the team and like I tried out and I made the team and just like bonding with everyone and playing, like it's almost like I never stopped. And it's just such a great atmosphere to be in. And like lacrosse just is such a great team sport to just bond with other people. And it just like is such a great like positive thing in my life.
That's good. I'm really glad especially that you're continuing on with it, because it's that's something that I would have done definitely for sure had I gone to college. I would have done everything I could to start a team if they didn't have one already. That would have been my initiative, would have been to start one. But I played on the club team at the Air Force Base, and that was kind of fun. But it's so much better when it's competitive. When you're competing for a goal of some sort. It makes it that much better. It's cool to have an adult game, and it's really not for anything. You know what I mean? It's just for the goal at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. That's still fun, and eventually we'll have an adult program here. Hopefully, I'd like to still compete, but I think a definite thing I definitely missed as a coach was just getting in there. And it was something I was criticized for a lot. Especially once I took over the girls' game. It was like, Coach, you shouldn't be out there doing drills with the girls. It's like, well, how do you expect for them to know what I'm expecting out of them? Yeah. There's only a way to show what it is that I'm expecting once we're doing a drill. Once they've done it, then they know what to do. You know what I mean? I don't continuously do drills just for doing them, even though sometimes I would, especially for, you, the twins, Hana, stuff like that, the girls who were more advanced, I would absolutely get in there and mix it up with you guys, because that's that added level of competition that pushes you guys every day at practice, that when you guys are being challenged by a high school girl who's not my size, who doesn't run as fast as I do, and I'm not fast, but I run faster than some high school girls, that's I can give myself that. So, when you guys are competing with me and then you step over the field and you're competing with girls your size, your age, it's like, oh yeah, no, I know exactly what I need to do. Yeah. And then on top of that, it was like, not only do I know the basics of what I need to do, but we've screwed around so much on the field that now I know trick stuff I can do to still get by you, and ways to think about things that, you haven't reached yet. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think that I sent you guys out there with a good lax IQ to go and excel, man. And
you definitely do.
You guys are doing that.
And it really helps when the coach participates with you, because you kind of get a level of respect, because they expect something out of you, but it's not something that they don't expect.
They're willing to do.
Yeah, and that they're willing to do. So, like, for example, we do a lot of conditioning, a lot of conditioning at FSU. And a big thing is, if you don't have the skills of the other person, you're at least going to have more speed.
And I'll work them. Yep.
Yeah. And so I noticed when we were playing in the semifinals, we were running right past them, like no problem at all. And it's because every practice we did some form of like, usually it was like 18 100s back and forth, and you had to do it under a minute, like sprint there and jog back, which like, it doesn't sound terrible, but it's a lot of work, especially after an entire practice. And like time you're like, why are we doing this? And the coach would run it with us, no problem. But just seeing the results from it and like seeing that the coach participated and like had her best interest in us, like definitely was reassuring. So
No, that's good stuff, man. I'm glad to hear that that's also happening at that division. I mean, what division are you guys in?
we're in the South Florida, no, Southern Women's Lacrosse League, SWLL.
Okay.
So it's like a club. I'm not really sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. But even at that level, you know, to see that that's still going on, that, I mean, obviously I knew that I wasn't the only coach doing that, but to hear that that's still going on up at that level, that's a reassuring,
Yeah.
you know, thing, because I think that was something that I think I got undue flack for it. You know, one of those things was, oh, well, why are you out there running with the girls? It was like, well, you guys are looking at it as girls on boys. I'm looking at it as athletes. You know what I mean? Like, these are girls, yes, but they're athletes on the field.
Yeah.
And if you treat them that way, they're going to perform that way.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's just the way I saw it. And it was always evident with you guys when, especially in the St. Thomas game, which was probably our most devastating loss, because they were not only large, but they were playing very extremely physical, and they were very obviously allowed to do that their entire season, because there's no way you act like that when you haven't been doing that all season.
Yeah.
You know, they had a different level of playing up there. So that was one of the, but the best thing to note from that game, and that was something that I took away from it, was, did you see them give up at all? Like, there was no quit at all from our sideline,
Mm-hmm.
from start to finish in that game. And I think that was probably one of Galicia's most demoralizing games until when we got to that point, and it was like, hey, guess what's coming at you? Some more shots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's going to keep coming at you until the end of the game? Some more shots. So, you know, let it go. You know what I mean? Let it go. You've been a stallion all season. These girls have just obviously, they've got us. So fight and don't let it up, but don't beat yourself up either. You know, and that was something that I think we stressed a lot as a team. That was one of my favorite quotes to you guys was, you know, beat each other up, not down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I think you guys took to very, very well. That it led to an atmosphere on our second season anyway. It led to an atmosphere of complete teamwork. You know, it was a beautiful thing to watch as a coach, especially coming from our first year, which was a bumpy road. It was a fun road, regardless, but it was a bumpy road. You know, we had some losses, we had some wins. We ended up getting knocked out of the districts. That, you know, it was a tough year that first year, but the second year we came back and it was, you know, no BS. You know, we only had those 2 losses during the season to out of district opponents, and then in district we just clobbered left and right, and it was awesome.
And I think,
you know,
we needed to lose that first season because, like, I know that you want to go undefeated and that's awesome. But I know, like, this year we lost 1 game and we won the other 8. But just losing a game like that and losing such a big game, it really shows you how much more you have to work the next season. And, like, it shows you how much you really want it and how much, like, you're going to have to give to get it. And, like, while a lot of times it sucks losing that 1 game, if the next season you can win that game and more games, it's so worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I thought also. Yeah, so we've been doing that here. How's your summer plans looking?
They're good. I don't really have anything planned because I'm taking a class, but just
That's good.
I'm giving myself a break because school is getting to the very hard courses, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was talking to, I had a podcast going on with Andrew a couple weeks ago, and I was asking him how he was doing, and he ended up finishing already at UM just because he drilled that many classes. He was like, you know what, dude, I took the summer off, and I kicked myself in the ass every day after that, and then after I forget when he said the breaking point was, but he was like, after that, I said, fuck it. It took a bunch of classes back to back to back, and I was killing myself and then working at night. And, I finished it up in 3 years, man, and I felt good about it. And now he's working at a school. He wanted to remain anonymous with which school it is, but you probably can put the math together. It's a brand new school in downtown Miami, and there's only one big one. And so, sorry, Andrew, but bursting your bubble in code here, buddy. And but he's trying to start a lacrosse program there as well. His thing to overcome is that it's another public school. It's in downtown Miami. That's not something a lot of those families down there value a lot, is their curriculum and their academics and stuff like that. That's especially their after school programs. I mean, I worked in that area. I definitely saw the lack of care when it came to those programs. The only one that didn't have a lack of care was the Booker T. Washington football team. Yeah. But as we saw when we went to that award ceremony, we saw why. That's what they do, is they win football championships. So you can't really give them slack for what they excel at. And that was one of the fields that I was like, listen, if you can coordinate outside of football season, you can probably use that field, because they don't use it for a lot else. But he's doing that with lacrosse, and I think it just takes you to different places that athletes that don't experience that. It doesn't have to be lacrosse. It's several sports that I'm aware of that show you all of these life lessons. But I think lacrosse definitely gives you that extra bit of what you're accomplishing. And I say that in the strictest sense of, football and basketball have always, to me, been less challenging because you're physically putting your hands on the ball. Yeah. The ball is literally in your hands to make with what you please. The difference there is the lacrosse stick. It comes up and it's extended away from you. You have to protect it. There's a lot of mentality that goes along with that thought process as well. The goal is much smaller, and there's this goalie standing in front of it. So, soccer players say, oh, well, it's the same thing with soccer. Yeah, okay, but the goal is huge in soccer, and the ball is huge in soccer. And then the goalie is not padded with extra equipment to then stop the ball. The goalies are walking around with fish catchers, and they're trying to stop a ball that's the size of your fist. I think that all of that extra precision adds to that quality in lacrosse of things you're capable of doing, because you're not controlling the ball with your bare hand. You're controlling it from an extension that you then learn to manipulate. It's almost like growing an extra arm. And then to learn how to use that arm on this side or on this side, and how are you seeing? So let me stop myself there. I want to see how you're seeing this in the college level. How many ambidextrous players do you guys have? You better answer all of them.
Yeah, you have to be at this level. I mean, there's definitely people who you can tell aren't as comfortable, but like from the best to the not as best people on my team, everyone can do it, and it's something you really have to. No,
there's no question. It's in the sport, and that's another facet of another notch above the other sports is the way I see it. You know what I mean? Most football players cannot throw with both their hands. No. They can't throw with both arms. Most baseball players can't swing the bat in both directions. They can't throw in both directions. You know what I mean? This is not something that conflicts with most sports. And even hockey, which I love, doesn't conflict in this way because the stick is shaped one way. If you're a right-handed player, it's shaped a certain way, so you play on your right-hand side. There's the rare player, and I do mean the rarest player, who can switch hands with the same stick and use the other hand with the same stick he has. And that's so few of them that it's not even, I couldn't mention to you any of them off the top of my head. Let me put it to you that way. Because the curve is so extreme in hockey, it's different. You know what I mean? And yes, I think hockey also has that added level of extension from the object of which you're controlling, which is the puck. But there's nothing like in lacrosse where you have to go from one side to the other, and that's something that's probably one of the hardest things to teach initiative towards until you're competing at that level. Until you're in a scenario where, shit, all of my teammates know how to do this, I better know how to do this. You know, until you're put into that scenario, it can be an eye-opening experience for some of these people. And I guess that's who I'm trying to reach on this one for this that portion. You know, we'll see what happens there. But that's awesome. Glad to hear you're doing well, young lady. And
too.
You know, those were good times. I think about them often, but I try not to dwell on them. You know, there's good times ahead. Hopefully, you've already gotten that notion. It seems that way anyway. And I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying your time up at that next level.
Thank you.
So be well, and I'll catch you again soon.
Okay. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Be well. All right, everybody. For those of you who tuning in, I will see you again later on in the week, and be good to each other.